the invitation and I said, can we just come together and pray?
I would rather have a child lay hands on me and pray that I be healed than somebody carnally intoxicated wannabe prophets.
We are not looking for this cookie cut box kind of who God is and how people function. We're okay with the fluidity of different things. I can experience the Holy Spirit.
You guys have a proximity and a relationship of trust enough that the sister could pull your coattail and say, so you know that was some sexy stuff right there.
And beautiful and going places and doing great things, but also can be transparent. We help each other.
And that God didn't make us clones. I think that's the beginning of us talking about authentic preaching, is trying to understand who in the world am I?
History, the majority of those churches were founded by women.
For us as women, we are relational beings. You know, we're wired. You know, it's in our DNA. We cannot help ourselves. We're just wired for relationships. And what people fail to forget is that that's what church is about.
Hello. Welcome to Timely Wisdom. We have another week here that we have been brought through by God's grace. Welcome to our viewing audience. Let us know that you are here. Make yourselves known in that chat box to let us know that you're here. Hello, Cheryl Tatum. I see you caught us on time this week. So good to have you back with us on this week. So let's kind of just go around the horn. Hello, Doris Thorne. So good to have you with us today. Go around the horn and let's just kind of check in. We'll start with you in the ATL.
Hello,
Dr. Wallace.
Hello. I'm doing well. It's been raining today and this week here in Atlanta. So, but everything is going really well. I'm enjoying trying to recover as I get a little strength back. Been cooking a little bit, so yeah. So that's why I was ripping and running earlier today. So I am so happy to be back with everybody.
Wait a minute. She said cook. Did she say cooking?
Cooking. What you cooking? What you cooking in ATL?
Spaghetti squash and spaghetti sauce.
Oh.
Healthy.
You're doing some healthy eating.
Healthy.
Burns. Yeah. As cheap as flights are now, we're on our way.
Yeah. Come on. They say Southwest is cheap, so you can hop in and hop right out. Come on, I gotta know.
Well, the one thing I do like about Southwest is that they're still keeping that empty seat empty, that middle seat empty, and so that's a thought. Let me check now to see if they got any specials going on.
Just make sure you stay.
I love to cook. I absolutely love to cook. My children say, "Mama, you just like to cook." I do. I really do.
So, let me just go ahead and put my menu in now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tina said, "What are we eating? Squash and sauce, right?"
Yes, with garlic bread.
I mean, very healthy. I'm liking that meal already. Burns, you talked about the middle seat, Southwest, and the middle seat not being occupied, and other airlines are now going back to full capacity, and that is just a bit disturbing because we just don't know the ins and outs of this COVID-19, right? We don't know everything about it. I'm hearing now that it is airborne, of course. That is the latest, and you must stay 6 feet apart. You must wear a mask, and these are the things that we've been saying all along, right?
Right.
But we're still not getting it because I'm seeing these crowds of people not wearing masks.
1,000 in Florida at a party.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's really going on? Or what are we really listening? What? Are we just we're just going to go on as usual?
It's not
right?
real. You know, I've heard.
I unfortunately, I just see that people have made a health issue a political issue.
Oh, that's good, Burns.
Yeah.
That's good.
But unfortunately, what is it? They say worldwide over 7 million, but
7 million.
who've been affected. But we have here in America now over 200,000. I mean, 9/11, we've had 3,000. You know, how many did we have from the war? You know, we look at these numbers
In comparison,
and what has just simply happened in house, what we've done or not done, and we want to still make it political. I continue to say, I remember when the number was under 100,000. I think it had to be about 70 or 80,000. And I shared with people, I said, I cannot count the number of funerals that I have done, but do you know how long it would take to walk a cemetery with 20,000 graves? Do you know how long it would take? And so we've minimized this in such a manner. And so, Dr. Wright, how you doing in Kansas?
Are doing well in Missouri. I cannot complain. I'm battling with I'm having a little issue with my earplug right now, but it's well. My daughter God is so amazing. He is healing her.
Yeah, Lord.
She is looking good. And so I just, I don't have any complaints. I mean, we're dealing with some of the same things you guys are dealing with. Non-compliance, people who don't think it's real, Dr. Wallace. And, I say, I know now I've had 9 friends that have passed from it. So, how much more real does it need to get before people listen? And then don't just listen because I say so. Listen for your family. Listen for, the people that are around you, and they don't do that.
Wow. Takara Hyde just said the people are trying to make things be normal, and it's not anymore. No, it will never go back to the way things were. And we just have to understand that. Wow. Craziness.
Well, Dr. Bradford, I believe we have a powerful guest that's waiting to join us today. Come on, fill us in. We're getting ready to shake the house on today.
Hey, hold on. Wait, did you see Wallace doing that? I'm just loving this atmosphere, Wallace, and how free you are. It just blesses my soul to see it. I'm just happy.
I'm just so grateful that the Lord has me still here. You have no earthly idea.
Yeah,
you don't know how happy my soul is, my sister.
Exactly.
Grateful.
So we have a powerhouse today. We have been anxiously waiting on this moment to hear the Reverend Dr. Martha Simmons. She resides in Atlanta. She's a native of Chula, Mississippi, and an associate minister of Rush Memorial United Church of Christ in Atlanta. Reverend Simmons stands among the veterans in ministry. For more than 30 years, she has preached throughout America and in Africa and served in a variety of ministerial capacities. For the past 20 years, her primary ministry has been the codification, preservation, and elevation of African American preaching for present and future generations and aiding women of color in ministry. How about that? Through her work in homiletics, she provides theories and approaches that promote excellence in preaching and in ministry. Through her work with women of color in ministry, she seeks to offer an advocacy, mentorship, educational support, and employment. She's developed a reputation for being a mentor to young clergy, having aided more than 30 clergy in becoming senior pastors. And she is the life coach of many older pastors. My. She is the creator and director of the African American Online Lectionary. I need y'all to check that out because it's powerful.
It's good.
Yes, it is. She is one of 2 general editors of Preaching with Sacred Fire and African American Sermons, 1750 to the my. She is well educated. I mean, well educated. I just want you to clap your hands and put in the comment section. Welcome, Reverend Dr. Martha Simmons. Well, let me just say this, the Reverend Dr. Martha Simmons.
The B.
How you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you all?
We're good. Tell us what's going on with you.
The usual. I'm about 75% finished with a book of sermon illustrations.
Ooh, yes.
Since nobody Black has written one in 50 years.
Jesus.
Wow. My God.
That for the same reason that I did a preaching manual 3 years ago for funerals, weddings, etc. No one had done any one of those in 57 years for Black people. So I'm finishing that. I'm helping a couple of people who are finishing up their PhD dissertations and hoping to get money from the Lily people to do a project with women in small and mid-sized churches. I should know about that in the next 10 days, and that'll be a 4-year project. So
wow, that's amazing. You're extremely busy. We know you to be a mentor to many preachers. Preachers come to you with their sermon; they just dump their sermons off,
and true.
And you look at them and you kind of go through it with them, and they are masterful preachers. We just want to talk about preaching in this digital age. How do preachers remain relevant in a time of church consumerism?
Well, in every age, and I think preachers, of course, know this, every culture presents problems for your age. And so if you're trying to follow Christ, what's relevant is relative, okay? It's one thing to be relevant for the sake of the culture. It's another thing to be relevant because you're trying to live like and teach like and be like Jesus. So if that's your aim, then relevance is a matter of what the scripture says, doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with God while you are loving the Lord with your heart, your mind, your soul. That's that. If you can do those things, that will make you relevant even in an age of consumerism. Okay? And so if you say, okay, that sounded good, but what does that look like down on the ground? On the ground, it looks like serving other folk.
It looks like.
On the ground, it looks like being the best at whatever it is that God called you to be. Many clergy will never be relevant because they do mediocre work. And especially in a digital age where people can catch you if your work is raggedy and question you quickly and then hang you and your work out on the highway, the digital highway. Okay. So on the ground, it looks like excellence. On the ground, being relevant looks like being a better listener. On the ground, being relevant in a consumeristic culture, it looks like, especially if you're over 50, it looks like hanging out with young folk so that you don't get too far behind concerning what's really going on in the culture that's affecting them and not just you and your age group. So that's some of how you remain relevant in a consumeristic culture.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. I need you to kind of swing back for a moment. You threw out mediocre work. Say more about that. Wow.
Well, let me give you an example. So, because I love preaching, because I study preaching, As soon as everyone got online, because we couldn't go back into the buildings, some Sundays I would watch 6, 8 services, listening to words, because I've got a bunch of kids in the ministry as well, and because I know a lot of preachers. So I'd flip around. And so I did that for a while. And then I had to say to myself, I don't think people are prepared for preaching without people in a building.
Mm.
They haven't asked anyone. They haven't worked on that. They haven't figured that out. So we had some bad presentations.
Wow.
And then there was just so much thin preaching that it got to a point where it was just driving me crazy. There were actually preachers, and you can go around on Sunday, that are still talking to people about breakthroughs in a pandemic.
Wow. Come on.
And I'm like, okay, so are you all lazy? Are you all clueless? Or what the heck is going on? That's mediocrity. You are not even in touch with the needs of the people.
My God.
And what the people are going through. And if you're preaching and you're not in touch with the needs of the people and what they're going through, why are you preaching? Who is your word for? If you just want to, say what you want to say, then talk to yourself. Don't go online with it. Don't go online with it.
Keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself, please.
Yeah. You said that we're not ready. That some of us are not ready. And I thought, and it is.
We won't get help to get ready. Nobody knew. No one was a media guru for the most part, except for some of our mega churches. When the pandemic first started and people had to get online, we weren't media gurus. But my God, teenagers can figure this stuff out. So get the help you need so that you don't go out there looking raggedy. It's not making sense. It's not that difficult to get on Zoom and StreamYard and Facebook Live with a decent camera. It's just not that difficult.
But Doc, I think the problem, though, is the preparation before they get to the camera. Oh, if the preparation is there, the camera may not be so bad. But if they're just talking about these breakthroughs and deliverance and not helping, I didn't need to hear that recovering from COVID. Exactly. I needed to hear that the Lord is still God, that God still heals. I needed to hear a sermon that would help me to hold on to my faith.
Right. Absolutely. And it's important that you said that. One of the things that my husband and I were having a conversation about the other day was that how it seems like we went right back to church as usual. Anniversary time, y'all got your reports, you got to. Right. Do you realize what's going on? Do you realize what we're dealing with? And the fact that you made it very plain and very clear that we need to have a relevant conversation. Guess what, y'all? This is ugly. Right. This doesn't feel good to nobody I know. Right. And we have to figure out how to do that and not just leave people hanging, because there's so many people that have lost hope. Yeah. Everybody do well being able to come into the church.
Come on, hope lives.
Wow. And Dr. Bradford, I see Takara Hyde.
Yeah. I'll read that, but I'll say Dr. Simmons, you kept saying raggedy, just raggedy. That word reigns in my head when people are preaching, when we hear sermons, just raggedy. And when you said raggedy, it was something about that came up from the deep core of you, because you research and you listen and then you edit and then you help people. So you're helping us when you talk about mediocre. Let me read what Takara is saying. You want to? I definitely agree with Dr. Martha Simmons. The smaller churches were always calling the internet the devil, and were not prepared. They didn't know how to operate. They didn't know how to do those assumes and all those different media platforms. I definitely agree. Oh my God.
Yeah, like, you know, Dr. Wallace was correct. I could tolerate some of the great preaching, even if it didn't look well online. But what I'm seeing is both. It looks bad and it sounds bad. Yeah. I have seen a few services where everything looked great online and the preacher didn't have a darn thing to say.
Lord,
I've seen that too.
Now you're helping us, sis. You are helping us because it allows us to see ourselves and look in the mirror and say, okay, are we really doing what we're supposed to do? Are we really following what God has called us to? And are we bringing hope to the people that need it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got I think 18 or 19 sons and daughters in ministry. And I say to them that there are always some basics. Wherever you preaching, you've got to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to hit them. And for Black folk, we've already always known that one of the things that it was our job to bring hope to our people. And now for a whole lot of white preachers, they figured out that they folk need some hope too. But you've got to hit the basics. You've got to hit the basics. And so, you know, I don't always expect people to preach like all of the great masters, but just do the basics. Do the basics. Give the people some hope. Make sure if you announce the text, that's the text that you preach. And then stop saying stupid stuff to people. Just stupid stuff. Just stupid stuff. You know, like I've got a message this morning that's gonna help you break out of your depression. And you're like, and your therapist degree is, and your MD is in what? Your MD degree is in what?
Mm-hmm.
Just stupid stuff.
Or the pastor who's preaching and keeps saying, y'all don't like me.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got a word for some of my haters. Real? You got a word for some of your haters for real?
Haters not even looking.
Doctor, you are saying what most of us are thinking.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, the older you get, the more you do that.
Thank you, Lord. But
Absolutely.
what you're saying is definitely what is needed in this time.
Yeah.
And since we're on this mediocre, or you're actually almost answered it, but I want to kind of dive deeper in it. Should the message remain the same?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Okay. Yes, the message has to remain the same because the Bible says that the word of God will stand forever. Okay. So that's my yes. My no is for two reasons. In that, the message comes to cultures at different times from different people. Okay. And so the message that young people or people in their 20s and 30s need today, while it's always hope, it's not going to be the same message that my mother needed at 20 and 30, but it's the same word. Okay. So if you look back as I was doing the anthology, one of the things that you saw constantly was a great deal of preaching about going to heaven. Mm-hmm. These were especially from the slave preachers, a great deal about going to heaven, because they couldn't figure out how to offer people any day-to-day hope when they were living through the hell and the terror of slavery.
Wow.
So they did a great deal of preaching about heaven. Now, the young folk, especially those who are proponents of the Black Lives Matter movement, they don't just want to hear you preaching about heaven while they're going through hell down here on earth. They need more than that, and they deserve more than that. Okay. In fact, I wouldn't blame them if you only preached about heaven while their Black bodies were going through hell. I wouldn't blame them for leaving your church and turning you off. I wouldn't blame them. Because again, you're not attending to the needs of the people. You're not attending to the needs of the people. The second reason I say no in terms of the message is because the Bible is a complicated text.
Yeah.
It's a complicated text. And so you have to discern it consistently within culture. Within culture. So if you look at some of the early sermons by white clergy, often Black folk were talked about as less than human in their sermons using the Bible. Okay. And if you listen to a great deal of Black folk preaching, and certainly a lot of white folk, you would think that the Bible did not concern Afro-Asiatic people. Somehow, all these folk became white. Jesus became white.
Now you're teaching.
And so you have to say, even when you're talking about Greece, Rome, etc., those are multicultural people. But if you listen to some of the sermons, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and today, you would swear that the Bible concerned a bunch of white people. Cultural people. But if you listen to...
Sorry.
Yeah, I was getting a bit of feedback.
It was so good, I was trying to share it, and I should know that it's not my forte. So I'm so sorry. It was just
scared me, Dr. Wallace.
Oh.
That's all right.
Bless you, Doc. Bless you.
Yeah. So, so when you say the message remaining the same, first we got to get the message right.
Absolutely.
First, we've got to get it right. And the white supremacy that still pervades our preaching, those stained glass windows in our churches, our fans in our churches.
You're going to help somebody.
I'm going to try. I love hooping now. Don't get me started. So we got to get that right before we talk about the message remaining the same. It's like, what message? Did you get the message right in the first place?
Yes.
Wow. That was a great segue with Dr. Wright hooping, and of course I know you said you loved hooping, but I'd like to know, in this digital age, should the style change?
Well, style is one of those things that's always going to change. Style is going to change. Age will change your style. Some of the full-throated hooping that I used to do, I can't really do that anymore. Your speed slows down. Those things happen automatically. Plus, your style changes because we all start out imitating other people. As we're trying to find our voice. We heard this preacher we liked, or, this was our pastor and we enjoyed their preaching style. And then we worked and worked and worked until we got our own voice and our own style. So, all styles change over time. Some because we're growing up and growing into our voice. Others just because we grow old. Just because we grow older. So, style, and then you can change your style on purpose. So I guess about maybe 10 years ago, I started to recognize, and I'd seen it before that, but it really started to come clear that preaching was getting faster. And, which made perfect sense with rap and everything else on the landscape. I mean, you remember the old folks, when rap first came out, they'd say, they said this so fast, I didn't understand what they were saying. And the kids could catch every word. Okay. And there was a reason for that.
Ah.
Absolutely. The kids could catch every word, because their pace of listening and hearing was different than those who were 40, 50, 60 years old. So, all styles change, but I recognized that everything had sped up. So I listened to a couple of my sermons and I said, you had the meat there, but my God, that was too slow. It was just too slow. It was just too slow. And I remember I was talking to Marcus Cosby. Marcus Cosby had one of the giants at his church preaching. And they preached a great sermon. And I listened to the sermon. And afterwards, some of the young adults in their 20s and 30s came to the office and they said, Pastor, we know that you greatly respect that preacher and we respect you. But Pastor, can you bring him back only for Seniors Day? And I knew exactly what they were saying. I knew exactly what they were saying. So after listening to that, and then listening to all of my kids, all of whom are speed demons for the most part, I said, you can speed this up. You can speed up. Why are you still dragging your preaching? Nobody wants to hear that. So I purposely worked on rewriting sermons in a different way. Yeah, because I had to speed up. Nobody wanted to hear that dragging, especially nobody in their 20s and 30s. Didn't want to hear.
That's interesting because I am a proponent of common meter hymns. Young people say, did they not know the words? Why they singing that so slow? Because they don't know the words. So I can appreciate where you're coming from about speeding it up and the culture that has contemporary music these days. But I am still a proponent for my own worship, for me at my house. Common meter hymns just put me where I need to be with the Lord.
Take you in, right? There's a question from the group.
I believe we ought to offer people a mixture of music. And that we can't afford to lose any of the music that brought us over.
That's right.
So I'm a proponent of a mixture. I don't want to hear just 7-Eleven music every Sunday. Yeah. How we say that, we got that hook we got to say 11 times and it's got 7 words in it. I can't deal with that every Sunday. I can't take that every Sunday. I can't take it.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
From my father in the gospel said that when that come to the part of that sermon and they say, tell him yes, yes. He said what he's really saying is, shut up, sit down, take your seat right now, sit down.
Please sit down. Please sit down. Exactly.
Cut it off. Cut it off.
That's it. That's it.
Really?
Oh God, Dr. Wright. That's all right.
Dr. Simmons, you know what? Yeah.
Dr. You are like crazy. No one warned me. Okay. Let me get my composure back together.
One of the guests asked, when you say dragging a sermon, What does that actually mean? Can you go further in explaining?
That means speaking very slowly. Listen to, and you can go on YouTube and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to preachers from the 60s. Well, you can, I think from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then turn around and listen to someone who's preaching in 2020.
Yeah.
Great difference. And you can hear it instantly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a young preacher that I mean, she's brilliant, but I tell you, she talks 25 words a second.
Yeah.
It seems like. Go ahead. Yeah.
Most of my kids, especially the ones under 35,
Yes.
that's the way they sound in the pulpit.
Mhm.
It's boom, 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 boom.
But
Okay.
what was the guy's name out of Detroit? The hooping preacher that from Harvard, the Harvard hooper. He would preach really, really fast in the 70s and 80s.
Exactly.
So you know that we have some models.
It
even from our generation.
It continues to speed up over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying to people. Preaching has continued to speed up over time. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what preaching sounds like in 2020 won't be close to what it sounds like in 2040.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what it sounded like 30 years ago is nothing like what it sounds now.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Adams.
Okay. Dr. Simmons, and I believe Dr. Bradford has this question. I had a chance to listen to you be part of a presentation now a couple of months ago. And you talked about the three things that every sermon essentially should carry. Dr. Bradford, you have that question.
Oh yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it was the Baptist, Progressive Baptist. You talked about it. Explain the priest, the prophet, and the sage in the sermonic.
Yeah. Well, it has always, I believe, been necessary that all three of those components be included in a sermon. But Kenyatta Gilbert, who teaches at Howard, did a book about 10 years ago. And he actually, he pushed the point that these have to be, and in the book is The Journey and Promise of African American Preaching. And he pushed the point that so much of our preaching is thin or not meeting the needs of people because it doesn't contain all three components. So much of the preaching that we will hear, whether it's a Black church, white, Latina, or Asian American church, most of the preaching is priestly. And yeah, it's priestly. And that's understandable because that's what preachers know how to do best. Is to talk to people about spiritual formation and doctrine and things like that. That's all under that priestly umbrella. What preachers don't do as well is the prophetic. Okay. It's like, well, everybody's not Jeremiah Wright. Well, no one was asking you to be Jeremiah Wright. What they were asking you to do is find the inflection points in your sermon for a prophetic moment, even in a sermon that's predominantly priestly. So all three. And then the sagely voice is about your saying, or keeping your people aware of their mission as a particular kind of congregation with a particular vision. That's that sagely voice that you also, so you don't want to present sermons to your congregation that go against the vision that you've given and the mission that you believe God has given your church. The sagely voice keeps you on track so that you don't do that. So we need all three in every sermon, although depending upon what the text is, one will be more pronounced. So if it's a prophetic verse, that'll be more pronounced. If it's a priestly verse, that'll be more pronounced. If it's something that has to do with your mission vision, that'll be more pronounced. But all three components should be in every sermon. And so much of our preaching is thin
Oh,
because we won't do it. We'll get to the priestly and we're done. And we're done. And so people don't know how what we preached about, how was it tied to our vision? How was it tied to our mission as a church? So you ask people, what's the mission of your church? They have no idea because it doesn't come up regularly in the preaching of the pastor.
That's good.
They say it one time, put a big sign up, and they're done. And that's bad pastoring. If you say God gave you a vision for the people, if you say that this is our mission, this is who we are, this is what's in our DNA in terms of our mission as a church, your job as the preacher is to keep hammering that, because we can forget what we're supposed to be doing and get caught in a whole lot of other kinds of stuff, but that's part of your job. So the sagely voice ought be there. The prophetic, even if your prophetic voice was only 2 lines in an 8-page sermon, it ought be there. It ought be there. All 3 ought be there. And certainly the priestly ought be there, even in your prophetic sermons, because that's where you really hammer home lessons about doctrine and spiritual formation.
Wow. Wow. We got a lot of questions in here. For
you want to deal with a couple?
Let's start here with Yvonne Windsor right here. Well, let's do the points and then come back to that question.
Okay, since she's there. If doing 3 points, should you try to target each if possible? I think she's speaking of your priest, prophetic, and sage.
Oh, no. That's not how it works. No, that's not how it works. No, it has nothing to do with 3 points. Your sermon may only have 1 point. Let's pray God you got at least 1 point. No, what I'm saying here is see, you all are making me act up. Okay, stop all of that.
You brought that with you.
What I'm saying is that as you form your sermon, the elements have to be there. They're not there as you sit down 1, 2, 3. They're there because you understand you want full communication with your people during the sermonic moment. So it's not about 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's not about that. It's about understanding that each has to be there in some way, with, like I said, the caveat is that, of course, depending upon the text, you'll raise one of those more than others. It will be more prominent.
Yeah.
But the others still should show up in some fashion. Okay. And like I said, the right prophetic line may be 2 sentences. Okay. And that'd be enough to jolt the people out of their seats. I remember I was actually visiting a church, and the preacher got up and said, and I don't care what any of you all don't know the Bible, Negroes think, women can preach the word gospel. Now, that was just 1 line, and it took over the whole service. It was like, whoop. See, that prophetic moment was louder than everything else that was said in the sermon. So, there are ways to be prophetic, sagely, and priestly. And it may be a line or 2 or just a paragraph.
Yeah, that makes sense. I believe you answered her question about the 3 points. You don't always have to have 3 points, but make sure that you encompass.
At least have 1.
Encompass the priest, prophetic, and sage. You know what? Yvonne has she has a comment here. It says, since we are doing virtual church, how many songs need to be played during different programs, and what is the best way to conduct virtual church? My God, that's a very good question. Loaded, but very good.
Yeah, very low. Very low. Very
Yes.
low. Because, you know, again, there's so much in that. Every church is different in terms of the way it wants to present worship to the world.
Yeah.
So there is no one size fits all cookie cutter. Okay. Some of the things that I see preachers do during their worship service, I would never do. But I certainly would not go online and blast them.
Yeah.
Done it that way. Because there's no, you know, like I said, it's what fits your congregation. What fits your congregation, and that's what, you know, those are the people God called you to. And so those are the people you are trying to give a word to. The people who are watching you online, God may assign those people to you, God may not. Okay. So you can't get overly worried about them. Now, just in terms of understanding media and the age we live in, clergy really need to know, because I do a lot of timing with preaching and timing for preachers in services. And one of the things that clergy really have to come to understand is that your online service will not give you, it just won't. It will not give you the room and the time that the services in the building will give you.
Yes, ma'am.
It just
Yes,
won't
ma'am.
happen.
Yes,
Don't
ma'am.
go back to that.
Please,
Yes, ma'am.
please don't. I mean, I saw a gentleman on one day, and I happened to click to him because I know this person. And then I started doing some other things, washing clothes and etc. because I was waiting for the sermon. A little bit to the singing and
Dr. Simmons, I'm sorry. You just got to give me a minute right there. You started doing dishes and washing clothes.
You got to wash clothes at some point.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
You gotta wash clothes at some point. So, and then I realized after I was washing and I had put the clothes in the dryer, I said, wait a minute. He hadn't gotten to the sermon yet.
Yes, ma'am.
And so
yes, ma'am.
Then I paid closer attention.
Yeah.
Because I said, okay, this is a study moment here. They finally got to the sermon. He offered a 40-minute sermon. And then there were two songs after. There was opening doors of the church. There was the offering, and then two more songs, and then a song of benediction. And I'm thinking, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Who in the world, except for 10 of your members, are going to sit with you for a 2-hour service?
That's right.
So while, you know, I wouldn't tell anyone how to design their service, I would tell clergy, please pay attention to what people will now tolerate online.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Here's why that's critically important. And I know preachers are like, if they don't want to listen, they can turn it off and da-da-da-da-da. Here's why it's critically important. Church will never be the same after COVID-19.
Amen.
So all of those people who you think are going to rush back to your building, they may come for 2 or 3 months. They might. But after that, you're going to see this bivocal church. It's going to be parts in a building and the other parts online.
That's right.
So what you're doing in that building will also have to meet the needs of the people online.
Yeah.
Come on here.
Amen.
So people, you know, so you don't have to believe me. Okay?
Yeah.
Just watch and see. I mean, the people are already starting to write about it. people have been writing about the difference between online and in-building worship for the last 6 or 7 years. People really need to start to pay attention, because I'm afraid that so many of our pastors are going to go back to buildings and not give any attention to their online service, and it's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
It's really going to hurt them, because the people are not coming back to those buildings in the numbers that they once did. We're already and I talked about this on my broadcast 2 years ago. We're already in a time when people basically attend church 2 Sundays a month. We're already there.
Yes.
First Sunday for communion.
Exactly. And pick your other one. Maybe your favorite choir is singing or something like that. It's 2 Sundays. We've been there over 3 years. So why do you think all of these people who weren't there in the first place, we keep saying the millennials are gone, the millennials are gone. Okay, believe they're gone and quit designing your services like they're not gone.
My
If you want them back.
Wait.
If you want them back.
Can you
don't want them back, keep doing what you're doing.
Deal with that right there. Can you deal with that right there? Do services as if they're not there.
Right. We keep saying we want them back.
Right.
But then we do services that say, man, I don't care if you all there or not.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you want them back, you have to do services that say, I know you're not here and I miss your presence. Okay? Instead of, I'm just going to give it to the people who are in the room.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
And that's what we do. We often do that. We often say, well, this is just for my people. This is for the people in the room. That will never be the case again. Yeah. Online has changed the game, as my kids say, forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Forever. So it's not just the people in a building. So if you want millennials in your services, you've got to look at millennial designs for worship.
Wow.
And it has nothing to do with whether or not you only sing long-metered hymns or 7-Eleven songs. It's a total posture about your worship, about the sermons that you present, about who shows up on screen.
Yeah.
If everybody that shows up on screen is 60 or 70 years old, you don't want millennials in your church. You've already told the people. And trust me, they're going to listen to you and say, okay, you don't want me there? Cool, I'm out. I'm out.
My goodness. Well, what should be the primary focus of a preacher?
Glorifying God.
Can you say it for the folk in the back?
Glorifying God and doing that while meeting the needs of a community that God has given to you. But first you got to glorify God. You got to do that. You got to do that. But God also, as I said, God gave you a community of people to serve. So you got to glorify God, and you do that well, of course, by serving faithfully that community God gave you. And the community it's those people who are in your building, as well as the community that's around your particular church. All of that is your community that God gave you. So, that's the critical stuff. But first, glorify God. Not get your best sound on, not sound smart, not raise money, not get Negroes to run to your church because it's blowing up. First, glorify God.
And what I hear you saying, my grandmother always said, put your best foot forward. I've been in services where I don't know what they were thinking, but the worship was absolutely horrible and tone deaf. And they said, well, they wanted to sing a song, so we gave them a chance. You chose your biggest service of the year to give somebody a chance. Why didn't you have them sing on Sunday morning? So that you could kind of give them a feel and help them come into it. Train them a little bit.
Why didn't you train them? That's what I would say. Why didn't you train them?
Exactly.
Or you want to give them a chance, train them.
Yes. Or giving them something to read.
Right.
They can't read the words.
Right.
So they throw something in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr.
Or
Simmons,
just skip over words.
Dr. Simmons, we have all these questions that we haven't even.
I'm here. I'm at your disposal. So go with the questions. Go.
This is amazing.
3 minutes left.
Dr. Chalice Bradford is persuasive. So I'm here. Go, Dr. Chalice Bradford. Go with the question.
And she use your government name.
Really? We only have like 2 minutes, but my God, we have so much.
That's all he heard, people. It's not on me.
We haven't even scratched the surface here.
Burns, that's on Dr. Burns, Dr. Wright, Dr. Wallace.
We've got but the people are asking, should the content match the context? Oh my God.
Really? Is that a real question?
That's a real question.
Of course. I'm just going to say that. Just say of course, and let's move to another question. Of course.
Dr. Tony had a question too.
It says, Dr. Can you talk? Ooh, gotta get back to it. Can you talk about skills, resources, personnel churches need to maintain the bivocal church model you
that I referenced earlier? Oh, that's a long question, Dr. McNeil. Hey, Dr. McNeil, love you, Tony McNeil. Well, you need.
We got 2 minutes.
Okay, let me just say this. That's what I'm saying. That's a big question.
Come on.
Just say that you need a wide variety of very trained people. So you need the folk who can do your online stuff well. Okay. And this is going to be more than that bright 13-year-old. This is going to be some people with strong technical skill.
That's good.
Okay. As well as an online pastoral presence. You need someone there to help the people online. And then when you're in worship, of course, you need a top-notch team as well for worship inside of buildings. So you just need a top-notch team for both worlds.
Okay, wait. A top-notch team, but what if you have those people in your church that have been singing every Sunday? What do you do with those?
Do with them relative to what?
After the online service is over, let them sing.
Exactly. Because see, you can have a 2-hour service and only 1 hour of it is online.
Right.
Only 1 hour of it is online, if that's what your congregation requires. Okay, you can do that. You can do that. Okay. Plus, you can retrain people. So the choir that always sings, they can be taught to do some things differently. You can train people and retrain people. You can do that.
That's good there.
You can do that. I mean, as old as I am, like I said, I sped my preaching up. You can train people and retrain people. You can do that. But like I said, the whole service does not have to be online. You don't have to do that. You can segment the service, certainly.
You're helping somebody today with the content and the. Let's just keep going, just a little bit.
They've asked for her to come back. We're gonna have to have her back. Thank you.
Dr. McNeil is saying we must have you back. These questions keep coming, and we can't stop them. But
one of mine is tried to start a revolt online, but that's all right. Dr. Simmons.
And they're one of yours.
Go figure.
Yeah, revolting people. Okay. Go figure how to revolt.
But thank you, Dr. Simmons, for being with us today, and we're definitely going to have you back. There's this discussion day was just absolutely.
It was fun hanging out with you all. It was good.
We love you, Dr. Simmons. It is amazing to have you here. We know you're coming back because I am very persuasive.
and the audience is asking for you.
I mean, it keeps coming. It says all of these people are saying you got to come back, and God knows what we need in this season. And when you look at this digital world, and I think I used the term, we are digital world or digital people in a what did I say? We're analog people in a digital steeple, right? And we don't understand what we need to do. But going forward, listening to what you have been saying, man, we're gonna tighten it up and get it together.
So thank you, Dr. Simmons, for being with us. Hang around with us just one more moment. Dr. Bradford, if you'll let our audience know who we have with us on next week.
So you've been asking for someone else to come back, and Reverend Dr. Cynthia Hale will be back next week. I tell you, I'm a piece of work. Part two. Come on and follow us next week at 3:00. And I tell you, it is going to happen right here, same time, same place.
Thank you all. God bless.
Bye-bye.